This car 100% had a blower on it. All right, so since the last video, the V literally hasn't even gotten touched, but the wheels are at powder coat. I should be getting them back this week. Gonna get the new tires mounted. And I have a lot of parts that I ordered from eBay and Rock Auto that I'm about to unbox in a few minutes and show you guys, because this is gonna be a lot of cosmetic and mechanical parts for the car, which I'm excited for. So first, let's get this thing out of the garage, because I went riding the other day with a couple of my buddies in Pennsylvania and we had a blast, but this thing got pretty dirty. And I'm sure if you saw, like in the other videos, I don't like things being dirty. So why don't we bring this outside, we'll give it a wash, and then I might have to demote garage privileges from the Scrambler and put this bad boy in the shed, because we're working on that. We're working on this. I also want to park this and my other Cadillac in the garage, and that's not going to happen with this monstrosity in here. So let's get this bad boy outside. We'll give it a nice wash and put it in the shed, and then we could start opening some boxes. Let's get to it. All right, guys, we got our first batch of parts in for the CTS-V, so let's go through them. Just wanted to start off by saying shout out to my sister and brother-in-law for getting me this badass hoodie for my birthday today. Love you guys. All right, so we'll start with the mechanical stuff. So 6 quarts of oil. The car calls for 5W30. I got 10W30. Same shit. I got 2 new Serpentine belts. I did get 2 new tensioners. I have to replace the crank pulley anyways, so I said, well, let me replace the belts. A lot of forums online were saying for how inexpensive these tensioners are to just replace them if you're replacing the belts. So I said, fuck it, while we're there, might as well. I believe you do have to remove the radiator to change the crank pulley. So I bought coolant. It's just good to have for any vehicle that you own, regardless. I have a Motorrad 180 degree thermostat that we're going to pop in. There's probably an aftermarket thermostat in the car anyways, but while we're there, I have an oil filter, went with a Wix. I bought everything on Rock Auto just for the sake of making it easier. Figured why not? We'll get a fuel filter, 8 spark plugs, NGK iridium jabs. Yeah. And then I bought this Evap solenoid. The car does have one check engine light. It asks for Evap code. From doing some research online, this bad boy should fix that. I'm hoping it does, because in Connecticut, when you buy a car from out of state, this car came from Massachusetts, you have to go through emissions, which is, for exhaust and whatnot, before you could register your car. So I'm hoping we could pop this thing in tonight, and hopefully it clears that code. I'll actually show you how I check the code. Where is it? I bought this thing on Amazon a couple years ago, and the entire reason that I bought it was specifically to see if my car will pass emissions when I had my Hellcat. There's a feature within this thing, if you will, that tells you after you select what state you're in if your car will pass emissions in that state, which is pretty sick. Like, I think this thing was like $30, and I think the app was like $5. I'm sure there's way better ones out there. I bought this specifically for the emissions feature of it, but it did say that there was that Evap code. I think it was P0496. So hopefully we could pop that Evap solenoid in and give us the green light to pass emissions. I'm actually going to leave this out because we're going to be using that. And then, cabin air filter. I figured, why not? Who knows the last time that was changed? And then the cosmetic stuff. So I did a lot of research on these damn center caps, because my car came with the black center caps with the red Cadillac logo. Let me see. Obviously, they're faded and they're in shit condition. But after looking online, every picture that I Googled of an 06 and 07 V, because they didn't facelift it. The car's identical cosmetic-wise, but 04 and 05 had the LS6, and then 06 and 07 had the LS2. This is an LS2 car. So every picture that I found online, I even went on the forums and some Facebook groups, showed these clear-looking center caps. They're discontinued by GM. I'll try to show you these zoomed in. These are OEM. Where is it? You can see GM right in there. These things are pretty mint. They're used, but I'm very happy. I think they were like $30. I mean, they're mint. They're not cracked. They might have a little scratch on them. When they're on the car, you're never even going to notice. But I might even, when we paint correct the car, I might give it a little bit of a polish. But very happy with those. I actually like the black ones better with the Cadillac logo colored in. But if this is what came on the car, that's what I want. I'm very into things looking OEM, which leads us to the next thing. So this was something that all GM vehicles after 2006 had, but only 06 and 07 CTS-Vs had these, as far as Gen 1s go. So these little doohickeys go somewhere like yonder. I actually need to see if I can research the exact placement for these, but I wanted these. They're OEM. I like it. That's what the car came with. That's what I want to do. So we got two of those. Those are OEM GM. Also, this CTS badge. So someone debadged the GM thing. These are faded, to shit. Someone put this piece of crap on there. So this little badge goes on the right side of the trunk. So as you can see, the V badge is on the back. This thing should go somewhere like that. I like it. It's supposed to be there. I'm doing it. This is also discontinued, so this one's used. You can see it already had like the double-sided tape on there. But this thing is like mint. There's nothing wrong with it. Could use a little polish. I'll clean it up. We'll throw some new 3M double-sided tape on there. We'll be good to go. So that's that. These are also discontinued by GM. This guy that sells these on eBay says these are the exact dimensions, height, width, thickness, color of the OEM V badges. They look pretty damn good to me. So I got three of them, one for both front fenders and one for the trunk panel. I know it's still in the plastic, but let me see. Yeah, you could already see how much better that's going to look, actually. Oh yeah, this thing's like, identical. Thank God. All right. And while we're on cosmetics, in here is the last thing that I ordered so far, which is this panel right here. So whoever installed this backup camera, like literally drilled into this panel with like a just bolt or whatever. It drives me insane. I'd rather delete the backup camera to not have the car look like shit. So in there is one of these. Let's open it up right now. When my buddy paints and fixes these front fenders that I talked about in the first video, he is going to spray that trunk panel, which is in here. So let me open this box up. All right, so open this bad boy up and here we go. Things are pretty nice shape. Not that it really matters as long as it's not damaged in any way because it's getting painted black to match the car. I also noticed my car did not have those black rubber things. So I guess that's good. All right, we're in business. I cannot wait to get rid of those drill holes. That's going to piss me off. I'm sure these reverse our license plate bulb things off mine are probably in better shape, so we could easily pop those in. But yeah, getting good to go. All right, why don't we pop the hood on this thing and see if we could locate and replace the Evap solenoid, and hopefully we could get this bad boy to emissions. Oh, forgot. I said this in the first video, but while I was talking about all the cosmetic things, thankfully the guy that I bought the car gave me this OEM GM. Like so badly I want to put this on right now. I probably will in the next couple minutes because it's pissing me off, but I wanted this to be like the icing on the cake after the car was detailed. But maybe we'll just pop this on. I mean, it's not like I'm going to be like doing anything with that grill as far as like polishing it or anything, but yeah. There's no way it's that easy. Looks like this is the thing. Interesting. This thing is like just zip tied over here. I believe that should mount somewhere. Because I'm pretty sure when I ordered this new one, it said without mounting bracket. Interesting. So maybe that's part of the reason why the code is coming up is because this isn't how it's supposed to be. There's a lot of extra slack in this. So after doing some research, there's supposed to be a bracket that goes here. And I think the bracket maybe goes into this thread right here, this threaded hole. I found a picture online of a GTO with an LS2 that this thing was mounted over here somewhere. So at least for now, I just want to be able to get the car to pass emissions. So let's replace this bad boy and go from there. All right, out with the old, in with the new. So as I'm ragging on this dude for zip tying the shit out of this, looks like I'm about to zip tie the shit out of this as well. All right, guys, so I got started working on the V. I'll show you guys what I accomplished the other day. I did not videotape any of it because my buddy Teddy came over. I haven't seen him in a while, and we were wrenching on the car and kind of just wanted to hang out. Didn't want to have to videotape everything, wanted to bullshit with him. So, as I said in the first video, the crank pulley had a wobble. So let me see. Teddy has a shop here in Waterbury, and they did all the work to my Hellcat. He had that crank pulley, which was brand new off of an LS3 crate motor. So we replaced that. I did do a new tensioner here, and then the other tensioner down there. We drained out all the coolant. We're gonna flush it. I did replace all the spark plugs. I'll show you guys those in a second. But one thing that I wanted to point out with this, and I don't regret buying this car per se, but I did realize some things about this car that I didn't think I was gonna realize. So this car 100% had a blower on it at some point in its life. The guy that I bought the car from, he was super into me, you know, buying this car. He was happy that I was going to go to an owner that was going to appreciate it, that was going to, you know, kind of bring it back to its glory, if you will. And I called him and I said, "Are you sure this thing didn't have a blower on it?" And he called the guy that he bought the car from that owned it for 12 years. And he said 100%, like, he had no idea what was the deal with the car before he owned it. So this car definitely had a supercharger. I'll explain to you how I came to that conclusion. And this all happened between the first ownership, between 06 and 09. So first telltale sign, there's no hood blanket on the hood. And you could see something rubbed on the hood. So the blower that was on this car was definitely a root style blower, like sat on top. It wasn't a centrifugal like a Vortec or a ProCharger. So the first thing was that. Secondly, I think I threw them out, but when we replaced the crank pulley, hold on. All right, so this is the crank pulley that was on the car. The crank was pinned. So for those of you that don't know, the benefit of pinning the crank, I did this on my Hellcat, is when you're running boost, you don't want the crank pulley to spin on the crank and then it throws off, you know, timing in the car. So when you pin the crank, you basically drill a hole into the pulley and the crankshaft, and you put, there's one of the pins, you can see it, and that way it locks the pulley to the crankshaft, so no matter how fast it's spinning, you know, the crank won't spin on the pulley. So that was the next telltale sign. Another thing that I noticed is back here, there's a vacuum line, which I'm assuming was for a boost gauge. So that's kind of just, you know, hanging out back there. What was the other thing? Oh, spark plugs. So I haven't owned an LS car in a while, but doing spark plugs on this car sucks ass. So I replaced the spark plugs. It took me like an hour and a half to replace all the plugs. So I bought... Where the hell? Oh. So this is what I put into the car. NGK Iridiums. gap 0.40. They come pre-gapped. So I put these plugs in the car, and I'll pull out one of the old plugs so you can see it.
Three hours later.
All right, so there was TR6s, which is a colder plug, which is, usually meant for running boost. So come on, focus. They're not in horrible shape, to be honest with you, but these were the plugs that were in the car. So boost specific plugs. So it just goes to show when you buy a car, you really never know what the hell is happening with it. So another thing that I decided to buy was LSA Valve Covers, which is like a Gen 2 CTS-V engine or a 5th Gen ZL1 Camaro engine. So these valve covers, there's nothing bad with them. I cleaned them up a little bit, but if you run the LSA Valve Covers, it deletes this bracket because the coil packs mount directly to the valve cover, and I figured that would just kind of clean up the engine bay a little bit. I'm probably still going to put the Cadillac cover back on because I kind of like the OEM look, but at least it's going to clean it up. So I'm going to put these coil packs onto the valve covers, and then I got all new stainless hardware for the coil packs. I'll show you this when I raise the car up, but on the radiator behind the front bumper, there's brackets that was meant for a heat exchanger. And obviously there's no heat exchanger on the car because they removed the blower. So I'm curious. This car came from Texas between 06 and 09. I will put the VIN number in the description. If anyone knows anything about this car's history, I'm just curious. I would love to know. I'm going to mess around with a couple other things. I'll take you guys along for the ride this time. Then my buddy Teddy's going to come back here one day next week. He's going to bring his vacuum filler for the coolant system. We'll put the fans back in. I did buy... I didn't realize this when I first ordered parts from Rock Auto, but this is another idler. I replaced both the tensioners like I said, but this idler looked a little crusty. I figured I'm replacing everything else. I might as well put a new idler there. So I'm going to pop the belt off real quick. I'll replace that idler. I did get 2 new O2 sensors because I'm sure they're probably shot. So I got some Bosch's. So I don't think I'm going to put those in today. I'm going to wait till Teddy comes back. But we're going to put these in at some point. I ordered a new oil filter. I just changed the oil on this car, actually. I didn't get that in the video. I did this the other day, but I think after I dyno tune the car, I'm going to just change the oil one more time just to be safe. So I bought another oil filter, and we'll give this thing an oil change. So let's get going. All right, so we got the V on the lift. And I wanted to show you guys because I said this earlier, but you can see that there's a bracket here, which was for a heat exchanger of sorts. Don't mind this coolant. We flushed the radiator and the coolant system from here, so that's why there's a little bit of residual. But overall, it's a pretty clean undercarriage on this car. Not horrible. So, as I said in the first video, you could see that the car has electric cutouts, but they don't currently work. So, I was checking out the wires. Nothing appears to be ripped or damaged. Then they zip tied it to the rear sway bar. That's always nice. And then the wires, let me see. So the wires go here. I don't know if where that electrical tape is, if there's an issue in there. I mean, it would be cool to get this to work. So long story short, they run down here, which I'm assuming this is a fuel line. And then Oh, where'd it go? And then it goes into the floor here. So I'm not sure if it's going to be difficult to try to get those to work, but it would be cool if it's possible without going crazy. No diff brace. I know that these cars are prone to rear differential issues. I should probably service this. And I also want to realign the exhaust tips because I don't want them to mess up the rear bumper. So the engine bay is definitely looking much, much better. We got the LSA Valve Covers. We have the coil packs up top now without the bracket. Well, they were always up top, but eliminated the bracket. New plug wires, yada, yada, yada. But something that's really been driving me absolutely insane on this car is these shock tower bolts. They look horrible. I'm actually surprised how mint this car is, how bad those bolts look, if you will. So also with the strut tower brace, this is factory from GM, but you could see it's like starting to flake or whatever. The paint's chipping. That's gonna bother me. So what we're gonna do is, my buddy's powder coating the wheels. I'm gonna have him powder coat this. I mean, I only want to do this once. I just, we're gonna detail the engine bay when we detail the car, but I figured the car's in the garage. I'm gonna take these 3 bolts out on both sides, remove the strut tower brace, have this powder coated, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna refinish these bolts while they're out of the car. We'll reinstall the strut tower brace. I'll put all these bolts back in. Then I'll remove this last bolt, refinish that on both sides, and then we will, have all new mint bolts. I have another, not surprise, but something that I purchased that didn't come in yet that I'm going to tie everything into when all those bolts are done. So let's get those removed real quick. I am going to go back and, refinish these bolts, but for now, until I get the car back home, I just want to do these main things. Then, like I said, those aren't a big deal. Those could be done at any point. So that's what I want to do for the time being. While the car is out of commission and it's in the garage, I don't want to be doing this when I start driving the car. So let's get those bad boys taken off. All right, so I didn't really get this on video because my tripod is at the other garage, but these are the badges for the strut tower brace, which I just had powder coated and all the bolts powder coated. So I tried looking online high and low for these and they're just discontinued. So I salvaged them, and as you could see, oh, well, this one already has the sticker on it, but there's like a black plastic piece that goes into the badge that kind of gives it strength, I guess, because this is just kind of like a sheet metal pressed out thing, if you will. So I took some 3M double-sided tape and I used a hobby knife to cut out the exact, shape of it, if you will. And I gave these a quick polish. I'm going to shoot them a little bit more. I'll upload a picture right now as I'm talking of what they looked like before. I don't think you're really going to see this too much, but, when the hood's open for a hot second, you're really only going to see this part. But I'm going to do my best to give these a little bit more love. And then I just went and bought some super glue. And I'm going to put a little bit of super glue in here. And then, stick this into there. And then I could peel off the double-sided tape part and put it back on the strut tower brace. And then it should be, look perfect. It should look like it was never tampered with and how it came from the factory. So I'm going to put a little bit more time into polishing these. Maybe around like the edges, like over here and stuff. And then we should be in good shape. So do I regret buying this car? No, I don't. I think I bought it at the right price point. I always love these CTS-Vs, and it's becoming harder and harder to come by, finding one that's clean. And at the end of the day, this car only has 63,000 miles on it. The paint's in really nice shape besides the fenders, and, it needs a little TLC, but I don't mind giving it a little TLC. So let's recap what we did so far. So off camera, I did clean the engine bay up a little bit, but as you guys just saw, I did have the strut tower brace powder coated and installed that. And believe it or not, I actually had the bolts powder coated. It was a little bit of a pain because I had to take these three out because I didn't want to completely, leave the shocks unbolted to the car. Had the bar powder coated, had the bolts powder coated, installed them, then put these three back in, took this one out on both sides, and brought them to my buddy to have powder coated. I polished up the LS2 badge. It just kind of cleaned everything up when I had it all apart, and I must say, it looks pretty mint. I am extremely happy with the engine bay so far. So we did a new intake. I did clean the mass airflow sensor. I did that off camera. New filter. I cleaned the throttle body. We did the LSA Valve Covers. I kept the coil packs because there was nothing wrong with those. I did new plugs, NGK wires. We changed the oil. We did a new fuel filter. I did a new cabin air filter. In the next video, I'm going to flush the transmission and, service the rear diff. And I think after that, once we put the new exhaust on, we're going to get this thing tuned and put some new wheels on it. I'm going to be getting an alignment because I got brand new wheels and tires. And then we're going to dive into some cosmetic stuff, and I think she's going to be a runner. So like I said earlier, You know, when you buy a used car, you never know what you're gonna get unless it's a one owner, you know, an old man owned it, has all the receipts, you know, bought it new, it's bone stock, etc., etc. I learned my lesson. You know, I bought this car having no idea, you know, the past history. The guy that I bought it from was a pretty honest guy. I have nothing against him. I think he just, you know, he owned the car for the past 4 years, and, you know, everything that was done to it was done, you know, by the original owner. I mean, what are you going to do, argue with the guy? But overall, I am happy with the car, and it's only going to get better from here. I have a lot of parts coming for this thing that are actually, some of them are already here. I have a brand new exhaust from the headers back that I'm going to be putting on. You know, the one that's on there is a little beat up and not really crazy about how it sounds. So I'm going to put a new exhaust on this thing, and then we're going to be getting it tuned. I got the wheels back from Powder Coat. I can't wait to get those on the car, and stay tuned for what's next. Hopefully she puts down some good numbers on the dyno, and we'll get some videos of this thing in action. As some of you may know, I had a 800 rear wheel horsepower Hellcat before I bought the CTS-V. Then I actually very briefly had a 2007 Aston Martin V8 Vantage, which is a story for another day. But I bought the CTS-V because, you know, I wanted something that I could just get in and drive. You know, something quick, something fun. You know, this car still has all the creature comforts that you would want in a car. Heated seats, power seats, got XM radio. I can hook up my phone to play music. You know, it's got a nice interior for the most part. It's typical GM, you know, 2006 plastic, but it's nice enough. Sunroof, and it's a 6-speed manual. You know, I live in Connecticut, and driving the Hellcat, it was just way too much power for roads around here. I mean, you're on the highway, you know, you want to just let the thing rip and scream. And sometimes it's too much. I mean, 800 wheel is, it's a lot. And I don't want to get an insane speeding ticket or get arrested or something. And we have a lot of beautiful back roads near where I live. And when you're on back roads, an 800 rear wheel horsepower Hellcat is not the car that you want to be driving. And also it's expensive. Between, you know, taxes and insurance and maintenance on the Hellcat, it's just, it's a lot to pay for. And not that money was really the problem, because that car was paid off and everything, but just was over it. I had the car for 6 years. You know, you get bored with cars, and I love this thing. Actually, I threw in those floor mats that the guy that I bought the car from gave me. They look sweet. It's a nice car. So, sorry I've been slacking on content. You know, with work and life and everything, it's tough. You know, this YouTube thing isn't really a full-time job or anything. This is just something that I'm doing as a hobby. So, I'll be better on getting content out there. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.